What's going on, Falcons fans? Welcome into today's show where we're going to get you guys ready for week 2 as the Cheeseheads, the Green Bay Packers, come to town. We're going to run through the latest injury report, the first of the week, and then we're going to run through my 5 keys to victory. Now, before we get into all that good stuff, if you want the Falcons to beat the Packers, then like the video. Don't jinx it. Don't be the guy who thinks he's too cool to like a stupid YouTube video and get in the way of Atlanta starting off 2-0 for the first time in 5 years. Hit that thumbs up button down below. Now, the injury report for Atlanta. Troy Anderson with the concussion popped up on this. It's a bit of a concern. Did not see any rumblings coming out of Sunday's game that Anderson was headed to the concussion protocol or anything like that. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious, and hopefully he can return to the field soon. But Troy Anderson, that's definitely going to be a loss if Atlanta is without him on Sunday. Calais Campbell and Jonnu Smith both resting today. Jeff Okudah with an ankle injury he suffered back in early August, was limited with an ankle injury. He missed all of week 1, of course, so encouraging to see him limited on Wednesday. Hopefully he could be a full participant by the time Friday rolls around. And finally, Cordero Patterson, who also missed week 1. He was a full participant as he works himself back from a thigh injury. As for Green Bay, a much longer injury list here. David Bakhtiari, their heart and soul, the offensive line, with a rest/knee day, did not practice. But Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, Quay Walker, all 3 starters, and 3 important guys for Green Bay did not practice on Wednesday. Hamstring, and concussion. Finally, Romeo Doubs was limited with a concussion. Rashawn Gary, another key starter, limited with a knee injury. Their starting guard, Jenkins, was limited as well. And then Anthony Johnson was a full participant. So some very important names for the Packers not practicing on Wednesday. That is definitely something to monitor throughout the week, which we will do here for you on the channel. But now let's get into some keys to victory for Atlanta going into week 2, starting with the first key, which is protect Desmond Ridder. That was not accomplished in week 1. The Carolina Panthers more or less had their way with the Falcons, especially in the first half, but it got better in the second half. But still, it was not great. Let's be honest. Desmond Ridder got pressured 6 times. He was sacked 4 times. Not ideal. There are worse games out there for quarterbacks in terms of the amount of pressures and sacks they go under. I mean, talk about an all-time mismatch potentially in the making here. The Green Bay Packers in week 1 against the Bears, they pressured Justin Fields 25 times. Now, that's from PFF, and they love to give pressures out like it's candy, but still, 25 pressures, even if they double counted some of them. 12 to 13 pressures is still an insane amount to get in a game. So, if Atlanta's offensive line does not get their act together, this Green Bay pass rush is going to have a field day. Preston Smith, one of the more underappreciated edge rushers, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Lucas Van Ness, Rashawn Gary. I mean, those are just, 4 first-rounders right there? Clark, Wyatt, Van Ness this year, Rashawn Gary. Preston Smith was a second-rounder, if memory serves correct. So they've got some dudes up front. They've got some guys that are ready to get after the quarterback. And Atlanta's offensive line, led by Chris Lindstrom, Jake Matthews, Caleb McGarry, all 3 players with good contracts, they have got to show what the money is for, and that is protecting Desmond Ridder, which they did not do a stellar job of in week 1. Must be better in week 2. But who you got in this game, by the way? The Falcons or the Packers? Atlanta's got an opportunity to start off 2-0 for the first time since 2017. I'm typing ATL down below. Give me the Falcons in this one. Moving on to my second key to victory, let's talk about Jordan Love for a moment here. Let's make Jordan Love actually work hard, because I watched the Bears-Packers game week 1, and the Bears failed to do this. Jordan Love had a very easy Sunday, which that should not be the case for a guy like Love who has very little NFL experience going into this season, right? Against Chicago, 15 for 27, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, and a very nice quarterback rating. That's because Chicago never even breathed on Jordan Love. The Bears only pressured Jordan Love on 20% of his dropbacks. He went 1 for 3 on those dropbacks, and the Bears blitzed on only 5 dropbacks, which is 16% of the time. Basically, Chicago never got to Jordan Love. So he had all the time in the world to pick apart the defense, and he wasn't even spectacular. I know the stats look good, but if you watch the game, if you want to go back and rewatch the game, Jordan Love missed some relatively easy throws, but all that kind of got washed away with a nice big win over their rivals and some other good touchdown passes, which I'm not going to take away from. But had Chicago actually got some pressure on Jordan Love, something I hope the Falcons will do, because Atlanta only blitzed 8 times in week 1, which going up against Bryce Young, you don't need to pressure him a ton to make him, force mistakes or anything like that. Rookie QBs will do that all by themselves, but they did force 19 total pressures, so closer to what Green Bay did against Chicago, and we need to see Atlanta carry that over to Jordan Love and the Packers in week 2, because the Bears are a very good blueprint of don't pressure the quarterback, you're going to lose, and you're going to give up a lot of points. I expect Ryan Nielsen to start dialing up some blitzes, start getting creative with some stunts and whatnot, and not be vanilla. If you want to ease your defense into the scheme and whatnot in the first game or so, fine, knock yourself out. But as the season progresses, we got to start seeing what the actual DNA of this defense is, and I would love to see some Caden Ellis blitzes, right? Moving Grady Jarrett around the defensive line, getting creative, getting fun with it, and slowing down Jordan Love and the Packers. Now, before we get on to the rest of the keys to victory for Atlanta, we will be live here on the channel for a watch party. So make sure you come hang out with us. If you are out of network and you can't watch the game, this is a great way to take in a Falcons football game. Or if you are in network, my suggestion is put the game on your TV, mute the TV, put us on your phone, your iPad, your computer, and then sync our stream up with the game. And I promise you, it's a much more enjoyable way to take in climactic moments from Falcons football. So make sure you join us for our watch party this Sunday. Third key to victory for Arthur Smith and company: do not get beat by Aaron Jones. Again, we are only having one data point to reference here, which is week 1, but the Bears failed to do that, and they got beat by Aaron Jones, okay? He had 2 touchdowns altogether, 41 yards, only 9 carries, and then 2 grabs for 86 yards. This would be a big test for the inside linebackers, and that's why no Troy Anderson potentially could be a big hurdle, because Atlanta did not bring on a lot of veteran depth behind their 2 starters, right? They moved on from Mykal Walker, so that leaves Tay Davis, a more or less practice squad journeyman NFL player. Nate Landman's in the same boat. Like, there's not a ton of experience behind your 2 starters, which Anderson is only entering his 2nd year, but still, moving on or potentially losing Anderson for week 2 after seeing what Aaron Jones did in week 1, that's a lot to put onto Caden Ellis' plate. So maybe you see Jesse Bates come in and do some more coverage work, or Jalen Hawkins, Richie Grant, whatever it may be, but the Falcons have to prepare for Aaron Jones. Now, before we get to the last 2 keys to victory, let me tell everyone about our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/betfalcons. Enter promo code Falcons125. When you do that, BetUS gives you a 125% deposit bonus. Now, here are the week 2 odds. The Falcons and the Packers are currently at an even rate here when it comes to the favorites. So pick either side you want, and you're going to get your money back. Or if you wanted the over-under, that's at 40.5. I kind of go back and forth on this one. I kind of like the over, right? I'm feeling like we're going to get a Drake London touchdown, a Kyle Pitts touchdown, a Bijan touchdown. There's 3 scores right there. If the Packers put up 3 touchdowns by themselves, boom, you're at 22 points. So I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to take the Falcons money line as well. Moving on to my 4th key to victory now. Ride the hot hands at running back. We knew that Atlanta wanted to run the football this year, and they showed us that in week 1. Against the Panthers, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier combined for 3 touchdowns. Robinson coming in the air, but Algier putting up 75 yards on the ground. The 2 of these players combined for well over 100 yards from the line of scrimmage. And on top of Bijan and Tyler Algier, there's also this guy named Cordero Patterson you might have heard of, a.k.a. the Joker, who is in line to play on Sunday after being a full participant at Wednesday's practice. It's tough to game plan for Bijan Robinson. He is a player that opposing defensive coordinators have to take into account every single snap. You just cannot take your eye off of him. Then when your backup is a 1,000-yard rusher, that poses some challenges as well. And then you add a triple-headed monster in with Bijan, Algier, and Patterson. That is just nightmare fuel for opposing OCs all week long. So this should be a lot of fun for Atlanta on the ground. Now, before we get to my final key to victory, I do want to get some input from everyone watching right now. What is your biggest key to victory for week 2, right? If the floor was yours and you had the microphone, what would you say is the number one key for Atlanta starting off 2-0? Moving on to the final key to victory, stay away from Jaire Alexander. There are 11 players on defense for Green Bay. Basically 10 when you play the Packers. Just don't even look Jaire Alexander's way. He is one of the best corners in the NFL. He had 5 interceptions last season. He completely removed DJ Moore, a player that Falcons fans know all too well, out of the Week 1 matchup for the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. Just ignore Jaire. Desmond, I know you're watching. Don't try and be a hero. Don't try and be the quarterback that figures out Alexander and is like, no, I got it this time. Just don't do it. Just wait for your good matchups. Wait till you get Drake London in motion. Maybe the Packers are in a zone defense. So I have Drake London sit in a soft spot of the zone. Let him do some damage with yards after the catch. But do not try and beat Jaire Alexander with some one-on-one matchups over and over again. He's just too good of a corner not to respect. So before we get on out of here one last time, make sure you join us for our live watch party, Falcons versus Packers Sunday. We'll get started 15 minutes before kickoff, so tune in. Like I said, if you do not have the game on your TV because you're not in the local area, we're a great spot to get all the action. Or if you are in the local area, throw us on your tablet, your phone, your computer, whatever. It's a blast. It's a lot of fun to take a Falcons football game in this way.